and welcome back to Grimwit with Dimwits. I'm Blondie.
And I'm T. After 18 months of convincing ourselves that we had a fantabulous plan, we realized we did not. So we decided to switch from weekly episodes to seasons. You know, for all you listeners who like to binge multiple episodes in one sitting. And wow, there are a lot of you out there. Thanks. We really appreciate it. So we're going to get the ball rolling again with 7 super creepy episodes just waiting for you to press play.
But before we go any further, we'd like to take this moment to thank our listeners for being patient and tuning back in. And a big, fat, creepy welcome to our brand new listeners. Get ready to slip into a dark corner with us as we delve into this macabre world. Speaking of dark corners, we've added something new to our lineup, a segment called Current Events, 0 Cents. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Because let's be honest, every day there's at least a dozen cringy headlines that make you stop, think twice, and go, wait, what? So here is our first Current Events, 0 Cents. In Sweetwater, Texas, a DoorDash driver became alarmed when he got a pickup for a trash bag, zip ties, a hatchet, and bleach. And the topper was that the driver was supposed to go to a motel to take all this stuff.
What? I didn't even know they picked up random things like that. I thought it was just food.
Well, they go to like Walmart and things like that. So yeah, I guess they could pick up anything.
Okay.
So when the driver went to the motel, he got a bad vibe from the recipient of these items. So he called the police. The police showed up, knocked on the door, and the guy whose name is Neil refused to come out. And in fact, at this point, he informs the police that he had a gun.
Wow.
The police are like, oh, heck no. They bust down the door only to find another person tied up.
Well, duh.
But yay, the hostage is saved. They arrest Neil on aggravated kidnapping. However, the hostage, well, he had an outstanding warrant for drugs and he was arrested. I guess it's better that that happened instead of whatever was going to happen with the DoorDash items.
The hatchet and the trash bags? Wow. I mean, he told the story just with that one order.
That was literally a murder kit.
Yeah, it was. It's like, come on, dude. Let's be a little smarter.
Man, I'm telling you, I missed talking about all these stories and all the crazy things that happen out in the world. I miss not being around for these.
The insanity that continues whether we're doing stories or not.
Exactly.
They just continue to give us fuel for our fire. Thank you very much, insane world.
So that's our first Current Events, 0 Cents.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
So haven't you missed this?
I really miss this, and I hate the fact that I've been so busy while we've been off. You know this, but our listeners don't know it. At my job, my new job somewhat, I got a new position, and my new position required me to do a lot of training this summer. So I really wasn't available to be writing, but I've missed it. Truly in my heart, I needed to get back to this because I saw so many stories. I wanted to do so many episodes on them, and everything just starts to pile up. So I picked a few good ones, and hopefully that'll get our season started off. And I know you've got some good ones too.
You're right. I sit there and, oh, we could do this. Oh, I could do that.
And then by the time you sit down, you've forgotten about those good ones and new good ones have popped up. So, it's just a never-ending supply of nonsense.
And of course, I write them down somewhere. It's just a matter of finding out where I wrote them down.
Exactly. I know, because I have them in my notes, and then I have them over here, and then I put them in our little documentation. They're just everywhere. So we just need to get these stories done.
So speaking of all these great stories, what do you got for us?
Well, I saw this on TV, and I just thought it was so interesting that I knew I had to do this story. So I want to start by saying that it's an old joke, but I've heard a lot of people say that if they went into certain sacred places, like a church, a temple, a mosque, synagogue, any type of holy place, they would immediately spontaneously combust. I think you said that a few times.
About myself. Yes.
Yep. Meaning that God would probably strike them dead due to their, sin-filled ways. It's silly, but it always makes me laugh, especially when the person saying it really is a backslidden heathen. And there's a little real fear there.
Oh, so now I have a title?
You've always had that title, sister. Who you trying to fool?
They don't know me.
Let's let the grim begin. But now imagine July 1st, 1951, in St. Petersburg, Florida, Mary Reeser, a sweet little 67-year-old woman who comes home from a long day to her adorable little old lady apartment. You know the kind. Doilies everywhere and a crochet theme throughout, even in the bathroom for some strange reason. You know how they used to keep those extra toilet paper rolls and those crochet square hangy thingies on the wall? My grandma had all that.
I remember the ones that would cover a single roll of toilet paper.
I mean, why?
I don't know.
There were other ways, people, but everything was crocheted. Anyway, after getting home, Mary just wants to cozy up and get some much needed rest in her soft and overstuffed easy chair. Yep, that's what they used to be called, easy chairs.
Or bark-a-lounger.
Or bark-a-lounger, right. I love old terms like this from back in the day. Another one is, remember how they used to give out their phone numbers with a telephone exchange word first? You know, then just like a handful of numbers like Murray Hill 2, 3436, or my personal favorite, Beechwood 45789. You know the words to that?
No.
Oh. It goes Beechwood 457. You can call me up and have a date any old time.
Continue.
Okay, well, that didn't go as planned. They were so much cooler back in the day.
Let me just say, I never used the telephone exchange word.
Well, we're not old enough for that. I mean, that was before our time.
I saw it on Leave It to Beaver or something.
Yeah, because I have everybody convinced you're 100. So I'm sure you did. You're just denying it.
Not if I had to sing it. No.
Okay, back to the story. So now, picture sweet Mary Reeser, snuggled nice and tight in her favorite chair, covered with a crochet or possibly knitted blanket if she was fancy, and still wearing her sensible shoes. She takes a couple of sedatives, smokes a cigarette, and then happily falls asleep.
As we do.
Okay, so maybe Mary is not quite as innocent and pure as she initially sounded after slamming a couple of downers and lighting one up. But hey, you do you, Mary, quite contrary.
My vision of Mary drastically changed.
Yeah, Mary's got some skeletons. The next morning at about 8 a.m., Mary's landlord noticed a faint smell of smoke. She goes into the hallway and follows the smoke to Mary Reeser's apartment door. She knocks and nobody answers. So concerned for Mary, she tries to open the door, but when she touches the metal doorknob, it's extremely hot. She then realizes that the apartment must be on fire. So she calls both the police and the fire department, who are very quick to respond.
So she follows the smoke, and it wasn't until she touched the door that she realized it was on fire?
Yes, because there's not a lot of smoke.
Okay.
When police and fire arrive, they get the door open and are immediately shocked to find that the apartment is not on fire at all. It is warm in there, but as they look around, obviously first and foremost trying to rescue sweet little old sketchy Mary, they can't make heads or tails out of this whole scene. But what they do see is something new to them, something unexpected. They find no flames, nor any signs that flames had ever even begun to engulf the apartment, because there was no smoke damage and no soot. The apartment is in nearly perfect condition, but the one burnt thing they see is what looks like the remains of an easy chair. The chair center portion is burnt and gutted and filled with black ash. Way more ash than a chair of that type would normally produce. This was the easy chair that Mary had fallen asleep in the night before. Now the chair itself is still standing, but there's no sign of Mary.
Okay, talk about being on the edge of my seat. What happened to Mary, and why is the chair burnt in the middle?
Well, I'm about to tell you. Do not jump ahead and get all fired up, sister.
Okay.
The police had been standing back a little bit at this point because they were still assessing the scene. When they moved further into the room and toward the chair, they were even more surprised and puzzled. From the angle at which they had been viewing the room before, the bottom of the easy chair had been blocked by a coffee table. But now that they've gotten closer, they can see something very macabre that had previously been hidden by the coffee table. On the ground in front of the burnt chair, they saw what looked like a woman's leg. Not the whole leg, just from below the knee down. Strangely, the leg was in nearly perfect condition. In fact, still on the foot of that leg was one of those sensible shoes that Sketchy Mary had been so fond of. I wonder if it was also wearing one of those knee-high stockings that usually, ends up around their little old lady ankles, and they just walk around like that all day.
Okay, random. Sad to say, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right? So I'm definitely not the only person who envisioned it like that. None of this makes any sense. Could Mary Reeser have just been burnt to a crisp, self-incinerated, and is now, minus one lucky gam, completely gone? Is all that extra ash in the chair actually Mary? My first thought is absolutely not. No es posible. There are things that will spontaneously combust when the conditions are perfect. Things like oily rags, grass, or even hay. But not little old sketchy ladies. Geez, I hope not, or we're going to be in trouble here real quick.
And I thought that even if you were burned, your bones would still be present.
Stay tuned, Blondie. We're going to bone up here real quick.
Am I jumping ahead?
You are. But if it is Mary, what could have caused her to suddenly combust? And how could she have burned in that manner? To answer your bones questions, for a human body to be fully cremated in a crematorium, the temperature is typically set between 1400 to 1800 degrees. But while I was watching the show, a commentator said that it would have to be about 3000 degrees for approximately 3 hours for complete cremation, bones and all. So let's just say either one of those situations happened and the body is cremated on the chair. How does an object in an apartment, any object, burn to that temperature and doesn't take the whole apartment with it? Especially with all those little doilies and tons of combustible yarn nearby. Seems impossible.
I didn't know yarn was combustible. Talk about death by doily.
But none of that stuff burned, only the easy chair.
Huh.
Many agencies got involved in trying to solve this case. Some thought that perhaps when Mary lit her cigarette, it may have fallen down when she fell asleep and caught her clothes on fire. That story is unfortunately not anything new and has happened a bajillion times before to lots of careless smokers, but not like this. Usually when this happens and a fire starts, when a space is fully engulfed, it reaches about 1500 degrees. Then that fire will spread throughout the apartment and sometimes even to other apartments. It can turn into a huge ordeal. That's usually the story, and that is what makes sense. But in this case, the fire did not spread and nobody even smelled smoke until the next morning. Why would a fire just consume an old lady, chair guts, and absolutely nothing else?
Did the easy chair maybe contain it all?
It seems like it, but how could that happen?
Very good question.
During this controversial investigation, newspapers started referring to Mary Hardy Reeser as the Cinder Lady. Now, I just have to say, how do you call her the Cinder Lady and stop yourself from calling her the real-life Cinderella? Especially when Disney had just released that animated film the year before in 1950. Hello, it was right there.
Because that's only something your demented mind would come up with.
Oh, I guarantee there's lots of Dementos out there and that they thought the exact same thing. Those are my peeps.
I'll just let that one sit.
So the pinpoint fire, the lack of damage, and the lucky leg are all super bizarre parts of this story. But this case gets even weirder.
If that's even possible.
Oh, it is. Following an investigation, detectives find Mary's skull in the ashes and debris. Mary is a normal-sized woman with a normal-sized head when she dies, and through dental records, the skull is confirmed to be hers. But somehow, some way, the completely intact skull has shrunken to the size of a baseball. not a softball, which is a little bit bigger, but a baseball with a diameter of just under 3 inches. That's like the size of a regular doll head. The normal size of a woman's skull is 6.8 by 5.5 inches. So Mary's skull shrunk to less than half of its normal size. Now, if you're thinking this was due to the fire, when people are cremated, the human skull will first fragment, then fall apart and eventually go to powder. They most definitely do not stay whole and shrink in any way. The only place on record known for people practicing actually shrinking human heads for ritualistic process is the Javorian peoples in the Amazon rainforest near Peru. So unless one of those guys got a hold of Mary's skull and did the deed, I don't think so. And no thank you, Javorans. I don't even want to know how you do it because that is way too real for me.
Even at that, shrinking heads have to take a bit of time, not overnight. Well, of course, unless you have that magic dust they used in Beetlejuice.
I love how you're actually giving it a timeline and trying to make sense out of this.
That's what I do. It's a mom thing. You try and fix it.
The authorities begin to consider every possibility. They even thought there might be some Soviet weapon at play. The time frame of Mary's death is during the Cold War, so the FBI seriously consider this angle. This case is so perplexing, it makes it all the way up to the director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. At that time, with so many other things going on in the world, it says a lot about this case for such an important person to be spending valuable time looking into it. Hoover reviews the case and is so disturbed by it that he takes it even further up the line and presents it to our 33rd President of the United States, POTUS, if you will, Harry S. Truman. Wow, I wish I had information on what Truman thought of it, but I couldn't find anything on that.
Yeah, that would have been good.
But Hoover wants to get to the bottom of this mysterious death, so he employs his top scientific forensic anthropologist at the time, Dr. Wilton Krogman, to look into it. Dr. Krogman is a pioneer in his field, and Hoover believes the most qualified man to look at this case. When Dr. Krogman shows up on the scene, everybody is anxiously awaiting his assessment. They've been burning with excitement. Sorry, I couldn't stop myself.
I guess they were all fired up. See, I can play too.
You're hot, sister. You're hot. But even this highly respected and extremely knowledgeable scientist had absolutely no idea how this could have happened. He was stumped. No leg pun intended. His question was, quote, "How does a skull shrink in a fire? This is not a thing that is supposed to happen," end quote. Now that response didn't sound uber scientific to me, but yep, I'm with that guy. Now, desperate for answers, the FBI begins to entertain any and all possibilities. They even ventured into some very strange scenarios. Foul play is suspected. They thought that some psycho might have broken into Mary's apartment and doused her with an accelerant like kerosene, then set her on fire and poof. So any items that could have been associated with arson were collected from the scene and sent to a laboratory. After being thoroughly tested, not one item comes back with any traces of accelerant of any type in it or on it. This is getting freaky.
This is tough. I mean, the whole concept of it all is just out there.
It's so far out there. I mean, it's beyond anything believable for sure. The next theory that the FBI genuinely investigates comes from an anonymous tip. So some guy calls up, speaks to authorities, and gives an official statement swearing that he saw a fireball go straight into Mary's little window, hit sleeping and slightly buzzed Mary, and light her on fire. And the FBI spent time looking into this. This shows the amount of desperation that the FBI had succumbed to, because that's pretty out there.
And why was he looking in Mary's window, little Mr. Peeping Tom?
So many questions about that story. But after analyzing this possibility, the FBI came to the conclusion that generally, fireballs don't fly through windows. No duh. And nobody is going to address the fact that they're actually considering a meteor-created fireball just flying around and selecting this particularly vulnerable person to land on. Because a real fireball would have flames everywhere and incinerate everything in its path, right? It all sounds so wild that they even kind of sort of believe this anonymous and probably very tipsy tipper. Maybe they were slightly buzzed too. But I bet that guy became really popular and had the best time telling this story about how I fooled the FBI to all his friends and family.
What about the obvious? Was her window open? If so, is it small enough for this fireball to fit through? If not, was there broken glass? I mean, come on now.
Are you actually believing this legitimately could have happened? Are you the tipsy tipper?
Still trying to figure it out.
While tipsy.
I wish.
Another unexplained phenomenon called ball lighting, don't laugh, was also considered.
The visuals, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Popped right into my head.
Yeah, me too. But this phenomenon is very controversial as to whether it even exists. So, check this out. This is a very rare, mysterious natural phenomenon that has been reported for centuries. Appearing as a floating ball of light, they're often white, yellow, or red during or after a thunderstorm. They can range in size from pea-sized to larger than a football. They moved randomly and eventually fade or explode. Now, sounds a little bit like big, scary, regular old ashes to me. I can't explain football size, but isn't that what it sounds like?
Yeah.
So after going through their theories as to how this may have happened to poor Mary, quite contrary, they eventually circle back to the possibility and still the most unbelievable, but now most likely explanation, SHC, Spontaneous Human Combustion. This means that a person just all of a sudden bursts into flames for no apparent reason. The flames would only affect the individual and would not impact anyone or anything else around them when it happens. Can you imagine? Let's go there for a minute. You're home one night. I'm talking about you, Blondie. Watching TV with your hubby, and all of a sudden you smell smoke. Naturally, you glance at him and you say, "Babe, I smell smoke. Can you go check it out?" As you continue to look around the room and investigate. But after a moment, it's quickly starting to smell like a delicious barbecue in your house. Yummalicious. And when your hubs doesn't get up, you go to give him, the look. And that's when you notice his big old head getting smaller and smaller and his body looking like Mount St. Helen, recklessly spewing lava all over your clean house. You could definitely imagine that, right?
In his easy chair.
In his Barcalounger.
Right?
Because according to the FBI, that could totally be a true story.
So I don't know which I'd be more annoyed with. Now I have to clean up this mess, or I had my mouth all set for non-existent barbecue.
Oh, that barbecue is real, honey. You better grab a fork.
Is that where they got the term fat burning?
The only time this type of combustion has happened was in nature. For example, when hay has high moisture levels that allow bacteria and fungi to grow, which respire and also produce heat similar to composting, this biological activity raises the bale's internal temperature above 130 degrees, triggering a chemical reaction that produces flammable gas. So if the temperature is right, triggering the gases, a hay bale can ignite and spontaneously combust.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. The million-dollar question is, could this also happen to humans in the right conditions? Shockingly, throughout history, there have been roughly 200 reported cases of SHC, spontaneous human combustion. Here are a few.
200?
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
Crazy.
Yeah. My head is still going, huh?
I think this falls under the weight. What?
Yeah, exactly. In 1470, there was an Italian knight in Milan who, according to witnesses, after a night of drinking himself senseless, he began to actually burp up legit flames. Shortly after this starts, no surprise, witnesses claim that this knight's entire body spontaneously combusts from within right before their eyes. So I have a question. who the heck is sticking around when, and I'm sure at this point, obnoxious and extremely fermented night becomes an out-of-control human dragon? I'm not sticking around for that.
And here I'm thinking, can someone pass the man the Prilosec? Because he's got some pretty severe heartburn.
That's way past heartburn. It's human haggis.
Ew. Ew.
You're welcome for that visual.
I actually squinched my eyes. Did you see that?
In 1982, a 61-year-old woman named Jeannie Lucille Saffin from Edmonton, London in the UK, with again, the same exact circumstances of drinking far too much, just like our Puff the Magic Dragon night. Once she starts with the lava burps, she begins burning from the inside out. She's with family when this occurs, and her father and brother-in-law see that she's on fire and try to extinguish the flames with water from the kitchen sink. An ambulance finally arrives and takes her to the hospital, where it's discovered that though she is severely burned, some of her body parts are still intact. That sounds familiar. She is treated at the burn unit at Mount Vernon Hospital, but dies 8 days after her original injury, technically from a bronchopneumonia infection due to her burns. Her relatives who witnessed what happened said that she definitely spontaneously combusted. No doubt about that. But the coroner, Dr. John Burton, said that there was, quote, no such thing. And he left her manner of death as an open verdict. Geez, you all got to be careful out there because alcohol will kill you in more ways than one. If these stories were told at every single AA meeting, I bet the success rate would increase drastically.
Can you imagine the warning sign inside bars? Drink responsibly because overheating isn't a good look?
Or a sign that says flame at your own risk?
Okay, that can mean a couple different things.
One's fun and one's not.
Right. And I was trying to visualize. They tried to put her out. Did they just pour water down her throat?
I'm guessing from the kitchen sink, or maybe just all over her body.
Interesting.
At least they tried something.
Right.
And more recently, on December 22nd, 2010, in Ballybane, Galway, Ireland, a 76-year-old Irishman named Michael Faherty died. His headline read, Pensioner died of spontaneous combustion. Coroner rules. So this coroner, Dr. Kieran McLaughlin, was completely on board with the whole SHC theories. When questioned as to why he would believe such a thing, the coroner stated that he had no other adequate explanation for the fire that consumed Mr. Faherty's body. Mr. Faherty was found completely burned and his body was charred to ashes on the floor of his sitting room in his home. Wow, was he sitting in a chair and relaxing as well? None of the combustible materials near and around his body are burned whatsoever in any fashion. And upon investigation, officers found no accelerant contributing to his death. This is eerily similar to Mary's case. Maybe it's those easy to burn up in chairs that are combustible. They seem to be the only common denominator here. Or maybe I should say the only common demonator. These poor people.
Isn't that what I said earlier? That Easy Chair did it? And do you see a location theme here?
Yes, I do. It's like, Mr. Easy Chair did it with a candlestick or a cigarette in the sitting room. There's your clue. But in Mary's case, following many angles and theories, the FBI is unwilling to list SHC as the official cause of death in her case. But what they come up with isn't a whole lot better. They decided that it was far more plausible to believe that Mary succumbed to something known as the wick effect. In essence, the wick effect causes the body to burn like an inside-out candle. Let me explain.
Thank you, as I sit here with my head tilted like a dog and a question look.
But cute, still cute. Outside of the body is the clothing which acts as the wick that catches fire. And that makes sense because wicks are usually made of some type of cotton. Then the human body itself with the combustible hydrocarbons found in human fat serve as the heat source to fuel the flame. Now, like poor Mary hasn't suffered enough, the FBI's theory is based on the fact that Mary is considered to be an obese woman at 170 pounds. That right? That is some straight up body shaming right there, because she's definitely not a huge woman.
No.
But
unless she's like 2 feet tall.
Okay, then she would be obese.
Yeah, a little bit.
And her easy chair would have been a rug on the floor, because she couldn't get up any higher than that. But unfortunately for the now chubby Mary Quite Contrary, she was also a smoker and had been for years. So the FBI concludes that the cigarette falls from her chunky little lips down to her XXL pajamas, then ignites her nightgown, which causes her fat-fueled body, their words not mine, to go up in flames. And because she's a heavy woman with extra candle fat, that leads to the fire continuing to burn for an extended period of time. You know, and I get where they're coming from on some of this, but it still doesn't answer the question about why nothing else was burned. We know fat burns, but so does paper, wood, fabric, yarn, doilies, etc.
Man, based on this, I would literally burn for days.
You could be a human crematorium. We could throw other people inside of you and they'd get burned up too.
Ouch.
True,
but ouch.
Not everyone accepts this answer. There are lots of problems with this theory. The first of which is that millions of people fall asleep with lit cigarettes, and yes, fires can occur, but they don't usually end up cremated wherever they lay or sit. Another problem is, why wouldn't you wake up if you're on fire? Even with sedatives, there's still a great likelihood that a person would start thrashing around as soon as that pain hit their nerves. And some people think that maybe she was overcome by smoke before she woke up. I could see that, but this fire supposedly happened super fast, so was there even time for death by smoke inhalation? And if smoke could disable her, there would have had to have been a lot of it, and the apartment shows no smoke damage. So there goes that theory. And none of their conclusions address how her head was shrunk during this process. I guess they decided there was no point in trying to explain something that absolutely nobody could even begin to try and make sense of.
I guess their theories were just all burned up.
Oh, ashes to ashes. We'll end this story with a quote from the forensic anthropologist hired by the FBI, Dr. Wilton Krogman. He said, quote, "Were I living in the Middle Ages, I'd mutter something about black magic," end quote. Thank you, Dr. Krogman. I couldn't agree more.
So many questions. I mean, I could see that part about the Wick story, but you're right. Why did her head shrink?
Mm-hmm.
I guess this goes into the unexplained, we'll never know file.
There it is. File it right now.
Okay. Until next time, have fun, take care, and don't forget to let your grimaginations run wild. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
We want to thank you for spending a little time with us. We truly appreciate it. If you'd like to send in your creepy little grim bits, we'd love to hear your personal stories, eerie interests, or strange suggestions. And don't be shy. We love our listeners, and we're excited to hear from you. Email us at grimwitwithdimwits@gmail.com.
Stay connected and follow Grimwit with Dimwits on Instagram, X, Facebook, and YouTube. Also, check out our website for more spooky fun at, you guessed it, Grimwit with Dimwits. We'd also really appreciate it if you take a moment to rate and review the show. Those 5-star ratings go a long way. Until then, join us again as we dive deep into the strange and unusual things we just can't wrap our skulls around.